I don't even know where to start. But maybe I'll just say this, it didn't happen like the movies. No candlelight. No slow music. Just silence. A long stare. And something in me cracked. You ever have one of those moments where it's like you're watching yourself from the outside? Like you know you should walk away, but your feet won't move? That was me. I wasn't planning to do anything. I wasn't dressed to impress. I didn't even wear makeup that day. But temptation doesn't need red lipstick. It just needs a little opening. And I gave it one. God, I didn't mean to. But when you've been lonely long enough, when your own husband stops noticing how tired your smile has become, when the walls of your home feel colder than the wind outside, you start searching. Not for sex. Not even for touch. For proof. Proof that someone sees you. That someone still wants you. And when you find it in the most unexpected place, the look in their eyes doesn't feel wrong. It feels like rescue. They were watching. I caught them staring. And what scared me most? I didn't look away. I didn't flinch. I wanted it. And I think they did too. I wish I could tell you I walked away. I wish I could say I thought of my kids. But in that moment, all I thought about was the ache in my chest. And how it finally felt warm. This isn't a story about villains. It's not even about lust. It's about cracks. Little cracks in the soul that no one sees until someone does. And when they lean in to look, you wonder what would happen if they didn't just look, but stayed and touched. This is what happened when they wanted to watch. And when I wished the same. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence turns into stories too heavy to carry alone. You won't want to miss what comes next. I'm 32, a mother of 2 boys. Most days, I don't recognize the woman in the mirror. Hair tied up, eyes tired, body softer than it used to be. But it's not just the outside that changed, it's the inside. I used to laugh without thinking. Now I rehearse every smile. My husband, he's not cruel. He's just absent. Always traveling for work. Even when he's home, he sleeps in the guest room. Says I snore. Maybe I do. But part of me wonders if he just doesn't want to feel the weight of my back against his anymore. Since our second child was born, we've been more like roommates than lovers. We text more than we talk. And the last time he touched me without needing something, I think our youngest was still in diapers. Then there's Kay and Jordan, our neighbors. Young couple. Playful. The kind of people who make every room feel warmer when they walk in. They'd invite us over for dinner. Bonfires in their backyard. Kay would bring out wine. Jordan would light up the grill. I'd sit there, laughing at their stories, pretending I didn't notice the way they glanced at each other like teenagers. Or the way Jordan glanced at me when he thought Kay wasn't looking. Or the way Kay sometimes touched my arm when she laughed, just a second too long. I told myself it was nothing. That I was imagining it. That no one looks at a mom of 2 like that. But the more time we spent together, the harder it got to ignore the way the air shifted when I walked into their house. The way Jordan poured my wine first. The way Kay always sat just a little too close. They made me feel like I was part of something, not background noise, not invisible. And I didn't realize how much I'd missed that until it was right there in front of me. I smiled on the outside, but inside, I was starving for something I couldn't name. I didn't know that one night. I'd wish for their eyes on me, and I'd want them to see. It started with a joke. The kids were finally asleep, mine upstairs, theirs tucked in the guest room. The fire pit was glowing low, wine bottles half empty, and we were all sunk deep into the patio cushions like we never wanted to move again. Kay leaned back, looked at me with that teasing grin she wore so well, and said, "We should play something a little more grown up." Jordan laughed first. My husband chuckled too, that kind of nervous laugh people do when they're not sure if it's really a joke. I smiled, but I looked away. Kay didn't explain. She didn't need to. The conversation moved on. But the air felt different. That comment, it lingered. like the smoke in my hair hours after I'd gone home. A few nights later, it came up again. Same setup, different tone. This time, Kay poured the wine slower. Her eyes held mine just a little longer. "We were serious, you know," she said, with a half smile that didn't quite reach her voice. I laughed again, but not like before. Something about the way she said we. My husband was scrolling on his phone, not even looking up. Jordan, though. He was watching, not in a creepy way, just noticing, and maybe that was the real danger, how safe it felt. The next morning, I stared at myself in the mirror for longer than usual. Brushed on mascara. Put on earrings I hadn't touched in months. That night, when we were invited again, I changed outfits twice. Settled on something that hugged me a little tighter than I usually wore around the house. My husband didn't say a word. But when I walked into Kay and Jordan's kitchen, Jordan did. "You look nice." That's all he said. But it hit somewhere deep. Kay just smiled, poured me wine, and handed me a glass like it was part of some unspoken rhythm we'd all fallen into. After dinner, when the dishes were cleared and the music got low, Kay brought it up again. "Ever played truth or dare with no rules?" Everyone laughed. I laughed. But inside, I wasn't laughing. I was wondering what the dare would be. Wondering why my heart beat so fast just hearing her say it. And when I looked across the fire at Jordan, he was already looking at me. It felt harmless, just a look, a thought, a shared secret in silence. But secrets don't stay small. They grow teeth and hunger. And one day, they asked to be fed. I told myself it was nothing, just harmless flirting, a game adults play when they're bored or curious. I had kids, a husband, a house that still smelled like baby shampoo and half-folded laundry. I had a life, but I was starving. Not for drama, not even for sex. For touch, for thrill, for someone to notice me, and not just because I was out of milk or late for pickup. I wanted to feel like a woman again. Not just someone's mom, not just someone's wife. One night, after dinner, Kay leaned in while our husbands talked about football and said, "We don't mind sharing, if it makes things less lonely." I laughed, but it caught in my throat. Was she joking? Or was that an invitation? I didn't ask. I didn't want to know the answer. But I thought about it. Thought about it a lot. It sat in the back of my mind like a secret drawer I wasn't supposed to open. Until one night. I did. The kids were asleep. My husband had passed out early, headphones in, back turned to me. And my phone lit up. "Kay, we're in the hot tub. Come if you can." No pressure. No emojis. No winks. Just that. My hands trembled. I sat there for 10 minutes, staring at the screen like it was a loaded question. I thought about my kids upstairs, their tiny pajamas laid out for school the next day. I thought about my husband snoring in the other room, how we hadn't kissed in 3 months. And I thought about Kay, laughing in the steam. Jordan, shirtless, maybe. Wine glasses sweating on the deck. And for once, I didn't want to think anymore. I just moved. I slipped on a robe, walked barefoot down the hall, and I went. In silence, without a word to anyone. The night air was cool, but the water was warm. Steam curled above the surface like breath from something alive. They were already in. Kay with her hair piled up, Jordan bare-chested, leaning back like this was just another evening. I slipped in quietly. Said I couldn't stay long. Kay handed me a glass of wine, eyes soft, smile gentle. Music hummed low from a speaker on the deck. Something slow, something that made silence feel thicker. For a while, we just talked. About nothing. About everything. Laughter echoing under the stars like none of us had anything to lose. Then, Jordan's leg brushed against mine. Just barely. But it didn't move. Neither did I. Kay watched. And smiled. Not the kind of smile that asks permission. The kind that already knows the answer. I went home an hour later. Climbed into bed beside my husband. His back to me as always. My skin still warm from the water. My heart louder than it should have been. After that night, I started going over more often. Always late. Always when my husband was working late or had passed out early. Sometimes it was just me and Kay. Sometimes just Jordan. But most nights, it was all three of us. Nothing physical happened. Not yet. But the conversations got slower. The eye contact, longer. Touches started to linger. Jordan would pour my drink before anyone else's. Kay would compliment the way my sweater clung to my waist. It was subtle, but constant. They made me feel like I was becoming something again. Not the mom who couldn't button her jeans. Not the wife who cried in the laundry room. Just me. Whole. Seen. One night, Kay leaned in while Jordan was lighting candles. Her voice barely above a whisper. You don't have to pretend with us. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't want to. I just let the words sit there, like a secret waiting to be claimed. I started fantasizing. About being wanted. About being watched. Not by the man I married who no longer saw me, but by two people who made me feel like I still mattered. Like I could still be desirable, without explanation. And that's when Kay said it. Her voice calm, certain. They wanted to watch. And I didn't say no. The storm came without warning. One of those nights where the sky split open without apology. Rain hitting the windows like it wanted in. My husband was away on a work trip. I was already at Kay and Jordan's house. I'd offered to help with the kids. Their youngest had a fever. Mine had spilled juice on the couch. Chaos, as usual. But by the time the last lullaby played and all the tiny limbs were tucked in, the house fell still. The lights flickered once, then cut completely. Darkness wrapped everything in a kind of hush. Kay lit candles. Jordan brought out a bottle of wine he said they'd been saving for something special. We sat on the floor, backs against the couch. Shadows danced on the walls. There was no music this time, just thunder in the distance. And the sound of our breathing. Kay poured slowly. Her hand brushed mine. And then, she didn't pull away. She leaned in, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. Her lips touched mine like she was remembering something we'd never actually done. And I froze. For a moment, the room spun. My brain screamed, "What are you doing?" But my body leaned in. It was slow, soft, like something sacred. Jordan didn't move. He just watched. His eyes calm, like he'd always known this would happen. Kay pulled back just slightly, her forehead resting against mine. And I could feel her heart beating through her skin. My hands trembled as they found hers. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Their laughter faded. Our glances became touches. Touches became skin. There was no rush. No pressure. Just surrender. It wasn't wild. It wasn't dirty. It was reverent. Like we'd all been waiting for someone to just say yes. And somewhere between the storm and the silence, I saw it. In the mirror behind the couch. I saw myself. And I didn't look away. I woke up in my own bed. Sheets tangled around my legs. The house quiet, save for the distant hum of the fridge and a bird tapping at the window. For a moment, I wondered if it was a dream. If I'd imagined it all, the candlelight, the kiss, the way skin felt like confession. But I could still smell the chlorine on my arms, still feel the curve of Kay's hand on my ribs. And something deeper. A shift, like part of me had slipped out the night before and hadn't come back in. My phone lit up. One message. "We're still your friends. No regrets." Kay? I stared at it for a long time, not knowing if I should feel relief, or rage, or nothing at all. Downstairs, I made coffee. Poured 2 mugs like I always do. My husband came into the kitchen, hair still messy from sleep. He kissed my forehead. First time in months. I almost spilled the coffee. Later that week, they invited us over again. Backyard barbecue. Kids laughing. Grill smoking. The world turning like nothing had changed. Kay waved from across the yard like she hadn't touched me. Jordan nodded once. Didn't meet my eyes. Not once. I spent the whole evening trying not to look too long in any one direction. My husband placed his hand on the small of my back while we stood in line for drinks. Just a gentle touch. Barely there. And I flinched. Just for a second. But it was enough to feel it. The difference. The distance. Nothing exploded. No fights. No questions. Just silence. And silence, I've learned, is its own kind of storm. I still wash the same dishes. Fold the same laundry. Tuck the same little bodies into bed at night with the same lullabies. But I'm not the same. Something in me cracked open that night, and I haven't been able to close it. I didn't leave my husband. I didn't pack a bag or scream accusations or beg for more. I stayed. I smiled through PTA meetings. I held his hand in public when I had to. I listened when he spoke, nodded in the right places, even laughed once or twice. But I wasn't really there. Not all of me. Because a piece of me was still in that room, in that flicker of candlelight, with their eyes on me. Wanting. And me, finally wanting to be seen. I don't know if I betrayed my marriage, or if I just remembered what it meant to feel alive. There was no plan. No big decision. Just a moment. And in that moment, I said yes. Not with words, but with breath. With stillness. With the way I didn't pull away. With the way I let their gaze unwrap me like I was something worth opening. I didn't chase them. I didn't confess. I didn't destroy the house I built with my bare hands. But I did open a door and walk through it. And now, even when everything looks the same, the floors mopped, the bills paid, the dinner made, I feel different. Not better. Not worse. Just different. They wanted to watch. And I wished the same. Is that wrong? Or just honest? Have you ever wanted something, not because it was right, not because it made sense, but because, in that moment, it made you feel real? I'm not asking for approval. I'm not even asking for forgiveness. I just want to know I'm not the only one. The only one who's ever looked around at a perfectly built life, the kids, the car, the calendar full of plans, and still felt hollow. Still felt the ache to be seen. To be chosen. Not out of obligation, but out of desire. Have you ever reached for something, knowing it might hurt someone, but did it anyway because you were already hurting in silence? Share your truth in the comments. Not for me. For you. Sometimes speaking it out loud is the only way we survive it. If this story stirred something inside you, if it made you remember or question, then don't keep that silence to yourself. Like this story. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where silence turns into stories too heavy to carry alone. Tap the bell. The next tale might echo something you have never dared say aloud.